Feel the power.
Oh, I can feel it.
Our moment of triumph approaches. It's
GrokTALK.
3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GrokTALK.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GrokTALK.com.
GrokTALK.
All right, welcome back to segment 4 of GrokTALK, December 6th, 2014. Every segment starts this way. Thank you, Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers, for the space, and the bloggers at GrokTALK.com who deliver all the content, and, of course, Skip, who provides all this lovely equipment for us to use so that we can have a program almost every Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is what we call GrokTALK, and our guest on the line is James O'Keefe, and welcome back, James.
Forgive me, I might ask you for an instruction on where to park here in a minute. Essentially, we've been doing investigations into the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Louisiana. Today is the runoff election for Senator Mary Landrieu, and she's running against Bill Cassidy. She's down about 30 points, and she's not going to win the election. But I like to say the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Mm-hmm. And in my case, the story of what happened to me and my colleagues 5 years ago in Louisiana is unbelievable. The destruction of evidence. The attorneys who prosecuted me were actually resigned 2 years ago because they were caught anonymously blogging about the people they were prosecuting, which is a huge no-no. Well, it turns out, in newly released court documents, we found out that these U.S. attorneys were also blogging about me, in my case. And just to give you an idea of how significant that is, they overturned the convictions of the people that they were blogging about. So I filed bar complaints against all these U.S. attorneys who resigned their federal license but are still state licensed. And I also filed a complaint against one of them who is actually currently employed in Eric Holder's Justice Department. And what's really interesting is I confronted, and I don't know if there's any way you guys can pull up this audio and play it for the listeners, but I confronted the Democratic Party, one of their spokespeople, one of their directors. This is the Louisiana Democratic Party. I confronted her 2 days ago in Baton Rouge, and I said, will you retract what you have said about me? I'm a felon and all this stuff. It's all nonsense. It's all not true. And she actually... we walked up to her in her office. She ran out, got on the phone, called the police, and she refused to correct it. So it's been quite a dramatic turn of events in Louisiana. And what we want is these people disbarred for their conduct.
Yeah, we can probably pull it. Is it on YouTube, the audio?
Yeah, it's on rebelpundit.com.
Okay.
If you go to about 2.5 minutes into the video, you'll start seeing me walk into her office. So we're focused on Louisiana right now, and we just finished that investigation. And we're also talking to the same people who broke the Gruber videos, and we're talking to the guy who found those videos, and we're hopefully going to be doing a story on that in the coming week ahead.
So you are on the air, sir.
Okay.
All right, good to have you here. I think I have the right video. Democrat officials' mind-blowing reaction to James O'Keefe. Is
yes,
that the right
that's
one?
the right one.
All right, I'm right around 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Let me see if we can bring this in.
Said that I had done all types of felonies. Turns out none of that was true. We filed complaints today with the Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney's Office, so we're going to hopefully get a correction here.
He's walking into the office. We don't have the video up, although we could have done that had we planned it.
Yeah, that would have been a little trickier to get that in with the Ustream.
Would you mind correcting the fact that you said I committed a felony? We filed complaints today with the Department of Justice and ethics complaints with the DOJ.
She's walking out of the office, walking away from him.
Would you please correct your statement that I committed a felony, ma'am? Could you please correct your statement I committed a felony?
And she's still walking.
We're going to get all these U.S. attorneys disbarred for their conduct. hard to explain this.
Just keeps on walking, huh?
Then
Oh, yeah, she
we're
doesn't
going to
dare.
sue you for defamation, slander per se. Ma'am?
Maybe she's calling her
Ma'am.
lawyer.
Ma'am, massive corruption in the Department
She's probably
of
calling the
Justice
police.
here in Louisiana.
Yeah,
They all
probably.
And-
resigned in disgrace.
And the interesting thing about it is that
And you're part of it if you don't correct the record. We're asking you to apologize or you're going to face a defamation lawsuit.
I mean, the people always say
Kirsten.
It's Ali. You can turn around.
that's good. That's where it ends right there. People always say, why do you sue these people for defamation? And first of all, because I get money out of it. That's the first thing. I actually have gotten pretty sizable settlements. So you would do it too if you're going to get $20,000, $30,000.
You have legal bills. You have, I mean.
And number two, no one. And this is. I would challenge. There are very few organizations that get defamed to the extent. I mean, we're not talking about, bloggers just saying their opinion. These are respected political institutions and mainstream newspapers who report that you are a felon when in fact you are not. That is a willful disregard for the truth, and it's legally it's libel, or in this case it would be slander, but libel per se. So we are engaged in legal battles against these people, and in just like with the sort of the Pigford scandal and the Shirley Sherrod incident, where that kind of led into a bigger story. I didn't know what I was walking into down there 5 years ago, but it turns out all these people, all these U.S. attorneys, are corrupt, and they're proven to be corrupt, and they need to be brought to justice.
That's awesome. All right. Anything else going on down there? I know there's a lot that's been happening, but this is the big story.
Well, that's
the
what
Landrieu race, of course, is today. We were talking about that on the phone. She's down 30 points, not expected to win.
30 now, is it?
Was that what you said? 30?
30.
30.
Yeah. Last I saw was 24 by a Republican pollster, because the Democrat pollsters won't even bother to poll anymore. They're afraid of the results.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the press has stopped caring about Landrieu, and it's about more than just Landrieu. It's about the Department of Justice or Department of Injustice. That's really. I read Cheryl Atkinson's book. What is it called? Cheryl Atkinson's book. She just wrote this book, the CBS News reporter. It's called Stonewalled.
Yeah.
And there's a whole chapter about her experiences at the Justice Department. And I was so shocked. Even me, I was outraged by what she witnessed. Have you read this book?
No, I'm going to get it.
No, it's on our list to get.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things she says about her phones were bugged and tapped and stuff, I mean, I maybe that's true, but the thing that really got me was when they refused to let her into the press conferences as a CBS News reporter because they couldn't control her narratives. And it just seemed to me like, I know they're doing it to citizens like us, but they're doing it to CBS News reporters too?
I know.
It's pretty amazing.
And she's not a low-profile reporter, so...
No, she's not. And the thing is, that normally CBS, MSNBC, ABC, etc., are treated as preferred correspondents because they'll tell the administration's narrative. She got off the reservation, and they wanted to have her fired, and they wanted to shut her out because she'd tell what she saw and heard and what she inferred from it, not what they wanted her to infer from it.
That's right. And that I encourage people to read her book. I think that we can make some progress with by telling these stories. I think this is something that the left should agree that is wrong. And if they don't agree that it's wrong, then they're going to lose. They're going to lose elections. They're going to lose the culture war. They're going to lose. People are going to not have faith in. They can't be marching in the streets about justice and then railroad people they don't like. It doesn't work that way.
Speaking of which,
if you want racial justice, if you want equality, if you want opportunity, equal opportunity, all things we all want, you can't then simultaneously jail people you don't like, railroad people you don't like, slander journalists, put journalists in jail. These things are all mutually exclusive. And I think we are all interested in justice here, but let's make sure that justice is equally applied.
Yeah, thinking of jailing people they don't like. Did the guy who made the video that supposedly was behind Benghazi ever get his life back and an apology?
No, we don't hear about that, do we?
No, we don't.
We don't hear about those type of stories, and those are the types of stories that need to be told.
Yeah.
Someone should take their camera.
And a related story in Milwaukee, when that one protester went to an event for Clinton and the mayor of it was Wisconsin, actually, and this guy made national news because he was standing there with a sign and opposing, and they arrested him for being a threat to Bill Clinton. He disappeared. I tried contacting people over there, and nobody knows what happened to him. He just sort of walked off the map and was gone. He was news for a week, and he disappeared. There's nothing on. You can't Google this guy and find him.
The story is like Chris Hennigan here in New Hampshire. It's amazing what the TSA, what the American Customs did to him. Went through his phone, when in fact it was just the fact that he knew everyone in New Hampshire. He had met and he had communicated. He had reported on all these candidates, and they're going through his phone. I know what it feels like: rummaging through your things, throwing your phone on the ground, taking out the SIM card, emptying your bags. I mean, these are types of injustices.
How do you know all these people when I, as an American, don't know all these people? Well, this was the TSA in Philadelphia, which is a big city where you don't get to meet the politicians every day. In New Hampshire, you can meet any politician you want if you put in the effort, and he did, and I did those couple of years as well. We met an awful lot of people, and his Rolodex was deep, and he had actually spoken to and written about all of those folks.
Yeah. Yeah, and
they were resentful of the fact that he had access.
And for those of you who don't know, they won't let him back in the country.
Right. They kicked him out on one of his trips back in.
They'll let Osama bin Laden into the country.
Exactly. You can dress up as Osama.
Maybe Chris Hennigan should fly into Guadalupe and then cross the Rio Grande. And maybe then the federal government would care. It's actually not a bad idea. Have a Brit go across the region there, and then suddenly they'll stop it.
He could claim to be Mexican. Maybe that would help.
We could loan him some of John Boehner's suntan lotion and a sombrero.
Or Hillary Clinton's muumuu blue dress, as she walks
that
in.
lovely thing, yeah. All right, so let's talk about Assistant District Attorney Richard Head. We've reported about that story. Skip went with you to videotape when you went to talk to him.
You guys are the ones that actually filmed it.
Yeah.
You went into the Department of Justice with me a year or so ago. And what was remarkable, as I said yesterday at the event, was how there's no metal detectors at the Department of Justice here. In New York, you would never even get within 5 feet of the entrance if you had a film crew. But I just walked on his door. He came out. This is Assistant Richard Head, and he proceeded to kind of disclose things that we didn't know. That he was working with Eric Holder. That he was working with this crazy woman in New Jersey to try to get my emails and things like that. And you guys were hot on that story a year and a half ago. So now it turns out, just a few weeks ago, that one of the people, poll watchers in New Hampshire, was assaulted by one of Richard Head's teammates, a guy by the name of Favre.
John, I think it was. John Favre.
I don't know his first name, but and then this is an altercation that hopefully people will find out more about. It's very disturbing. The trends across our country. The abuse of power by attorney generals, by U.S. attorneys.
School boards, we just had a guy on talking about the superintendent running a tyranny in a town. You're absolutely right. And of course, what you do is so important. We talked about it. You talked about it last night at Mike's house, and how important it is for people to tell the stories, and the reason why, and the focus of telling a story and making it an emotional plea like the Democrats do.
That's the thing we were talking about. We were having a conversation last night and during the day yesterday about, I believe that the left is very good at storytelling, and the right is very good at facts and logic and all of these things and reason, but there are some things that you just can't reason with people. People believe what they want to believe, particularly on hot-button issues. And education reform, you just mentioned, is becoming an issue like abortion or gun control. People are they have a family member who's in the union, and they want their money, and you have to tell the story. And what we try to do at Veritas is we did the teachers union story. We exposed the fact that the black kids were being called the N-word by the teachers because there was no accountability. They could do whatever they want. 3 years and out. 3 years, tenure for life. So that is compelling. What the filmmaker in New Jersey, Bob Bowden, did a movie called The Cartel. And there's a scene in The Cartel where, have you seen this movie, The Cartel?
I have not. I should.
Watch this movie, and there's a scene in this documentary film where the black child has to draw a lottery ticket to get out of the public school and into what he wants to be, which is in the charter school, because the charter school is not a prison system like the Newark public school. And he's crying. He's crying to his mom because he can't leave the public school system. If you want to talk about racism, now that's a great example of compelling story on why we need charter schools. And it's that type of storytelling which I'm trying to get conservatives to do more of.
You know, it's interesting. The activists like to talk about institutionalized racism, but there it is right there in the school system where, in spite of everything they try to do desegregate schools, the fact is that inner city schools are, in a lot of cities, predominantly black. They're run by the teachers' unions, which in a lot of cases are predominantly white. And the black kids can't escape. They don't want their revenue to escape and go somewhere else, the money to vote with its feet. And, we know that when Obama came in, of course, he shut down the charter school program in D.C. so that the poor black kids couldn't even draw a lottery ticket to get into the better schools. Right. Anyway, sorry.
That's exactly right. This story needs to be told, and I think what I'm seeing in my reporting and my witnessing and all the events happening in our country right now, and it's happening with me. By the way, I just got back from overseas 3 days ago for a trip. Went through JFK, and not as bad as Hennigan's experience, but the TSA guy, they put an X over my ticket. When you put your passport in the machine now, they give you a ticket, and you take the ticket up to the counter. There's an X through my face. I'm like, I've never seen this before. I went to the guy next to me, a frequent flyer, and I said, have you seen this? He said, I've never seen this before. The TSA guy takes my passport, runs down the hallway with it. I'm like, where did the guy go? And then the other TSA guy, where's your passport? I was like, I don't know. The other guy took it. And I brought into this other room, and then brought in this other room, and they dump all my stuff out of my bags. They started asking me all these questions. I work out 3 times a week, so there's a protein shake in my bag. Like, why do you drink protein? I'm like, because I work out and I like to have protein every day. Why do you have to work out? I say because I want to remain physically active, so I'm healthy. It's like, what are you, a bodybuilder or something? I mean, just is it a power trip? Is it am I being targeted? The guy was, and then my girlfriend was worried about me because I'm sitting there for 40 minutes, and so I try to call her to let her know I'm okay. TSI guy says, "Don't touch your phone. You're under my control now." I'm like, "Sir, I'm an American citizen. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, if you want to, if someone tried to put heroin in my bag without my knowledge, then fine. But don't treat me like this. Like, I'm just trying to go about my business." And these power trips, these constantly these power trips, abuse of power. We get it on video. I wish I was recording it. I wish I was recording that.
That would have been awesome. It is. I mean,
that's of course, they've passed laws to make it
illegal to record
when you go through those areas.
That's right. That's right. Or they make it such that they intimidate you. And here's another story I heard. This is on YouTube everywhere. These I-10 checkpoints where they ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. One guy had the brilliant idea. When he says, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" He's like, I'd rather you just let me go about my day, and I don't want to be harassed by you anymore." He's like, "You have to answer my question." He's like, I'd rather not." He's like, "No, thank you." And the guy says, "Well, then I have probable cause to arrest you." And the guy said, "Are you using my refusal to consent, my not consenting to your search? Are you using my refusal to give up my Fourth Amendment rights as the probable cause to arrest me?" I mean, does everyone reason how circular that is? Mm-hmm. So if I don't give up my constitutional rights, then you have probable cause to arrest me. And that's the tyrant mentality. The tyrant mentality. You saw it again in Louisiana when I walked up to Jim Letton. This is the former head prosecutor on the sidewalk. This is a sidewalk. The guy is now a dean. Mm-hmm. He goes, "You are breaking the law. You are harassing me." I said, "I have a microphone in my hand. I am an American journalist, and I'm asking you a simple question. Did you leak my emails?" And he called the police on me. And instead of having the police say, "Sir, he's a journalist and he's asking you a question," they stood behind him like his mafia henchmen and said, "You all being detained, boy. Yes, you all being detained." "Why am I being detained?" "Because you got to answer all questions." They arrested me for being a journalist on a sidewalk. This is not communist Russia. This is the United States of America, and they do it because they can get away with it.
And that's a lot about what you do. which is trying to get into these places and catch these people doing these things.
And to get them to do the things they think they can get away with, but they really shouldn't.
So we talked about trying to get conservative journalists and people like us, bloggers, and people with maybe more time than we have to try to get involved. I've seen you when Andrew was still alive. You guys would come out and you would do events. I think I saw you 4 times in one weekend when you guys were up here. And you talk about having the having the cojones to go out and do it. But what's the bullet list? What's the short list of what people need to get and do if they want to be out there doing this kind of activism?
That's a great question. If they want to do what we do, if they want to be out there and expose the injustice. Like I said yesterday as well, I find that before we even get to the bullet list, we have to overcome the psychological paralysis of fear that people have. Mm-hmm. It's not that hard to do it. I mean, you've got the technology. In fact, every phone has a video record HD. In fact, these phones are better than camcorders were 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, and you also have now you can stream it directly from your phone. See, everyone's got the technology. So technology scratched off. Technique. It's not hard to go up to someone and ask them simple questions. That's not hard. In fact, most people I find, citizens on the street, are pretty well versed in these issues. They know that the IRS is auditing people, don't they? If you lived in Washington, D.C., there's a minefield. If you live in the Beltway, a minefield of targets. Carla Dubinsky is currently employed in the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. She's working in the same component that targets the New York City cops, the Ferguson police officers. She's working in the Department of Justice when she was going on the internet and anonymously blogging about defendants in Louisiana, which is against the law. All you got to do is walk up to her with your camera and say, "Are you going to resign or not? What do you think about the bar complaint?" Now, that's easy. That's easy. Anyone can do that. The problem that people have is the fear. And I sat next to I'm not going to say her name, but I sat next to a woman yesterday at the event. After the event, we were talking, and she's like, "James, I want to support you, but I'm afraid to get audited by the IRS." And I kind of challenged her a bit. I said, "Well, frankly, we have to do something, and I know that you're afraid, but you got to overcome that fear." It's like, "Well, James, there are varying degrees of courage. And I have a son. I have a son in the Army. I have my family. I can't put the stuff on the line like you can." And that's, I don't know how to respond to that. But that's a question that people need to answer for themselves, and I don't know how to answer that. People, it's not the technology and the scripting and the ideas. People are just afraid to put themselves out there for fear of retaliation. And that, I don't know how to, let me ask you, let's make this an open conversation. How do we deal with that?
That is tough.
I think it's a personal decision to plunge in and do what's necessary. When you realize how bad the problem is, you can't simply remain behind the scenes. You have to get involved.
My own situation, like running for elective office and being as involved in politics and having written thousands of blog posts, people are like, "Why don't you run for something? Why don't you run for something?" My wife said, "Please don't run for anything while our kids are still in public school."
Yeah.
And as long as they're in public school, I will not run for anything. And then after they're out of public school, we will have the conversation again. But that's my situation. She isn't politically active, but she's also a school teacher in a different district. And there are pressures that would be put upon her that I will not ask her to assume just because of my activism. So I do what I can do. I blog a lot. I talk to people. We do this program. Mm-hmm. We do everything that we can up to that line. So for people who can cross that line, if all they are is intimidated, I think it's important to talk about that. I don't know what the answer is exactly. I think everybody has a point at which they're so offended by what's going on that they've decided that that's their last straw and they're going to go do something. We can continue this discussion in the next segment if you want to stick around.
Sure.
It's up to you. Okay, we're going to run long. This is GrokTALK. We will be right back with a bonus segment with James O'Keefe. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
GrokTALK.